The intro's rolling, correct? All right, Spaceflight Insider fans, welcome to the NASA Causeway at Kennedy Space Center in Florida. My name is Jason Ryan. I'll be your host today for the launch activities for AFSPC 5, or as we in the media call it, OTV-4. Now, OTV stands for Orbital Test Vehicle, and that's exactly what an Atlas V 501 rocket is about ready to launch from Cape Canaveral Air Force Station, Space Launch Complex 41 in Florida. This stubby little space shuttle is an unmanned, you could say like cousin to NASA's retired fleet of orbiters, and this will mark the 4th time that it is taken to orbit. So with that, with the opening of the show, we wanted to say thank you for hanging in there while we work some of the logistic things that go on for each of these launches. We also want to thank our sponsors, Orbital ATK, Lockheed Martin, Space Florida, the Lunar Initiatives. We also got some new folks we want to thank. We want to mention that we have great working relationships with many of them which support us at Spaceflight Insider, all the folks around here. We just gained Space Tech as one of our sponsors, so got to give a plug and shout out to those guys, as well as the folks at Milspace, or Milsat.com, I should say. They'll be having a conference coming up soon, and you guys really should check that out. It's going to be held in Brazil, so you got to think. You got a party, and you got a space conference. It's one-stop shopping. It's the place to go to. Again, Florida has been a long-time sponsor of us, and they will be we'll have some more stuff that we got to tell you folks about Space Florida come up soon. Sorry, I got a little distracted. One of the great folks out here handed me something there for a second. And we also want to thank the Astronaut Scholarship Foundation. We'll be attending their gala held on May 29th, and you get to see me in a black tie afterwards. I'm not very comfortable with that, but it is what it is. So let me see. We are currently at about 24 minutes prior to launch. In case you guys are not in the state and aren't aware, there were a lot of weather concerns initially. 40%, 70%. Guys, there are like 3 very lonely clouds in the sky. It is mostly what pilots call severe clear. And what that means is from horizon to horizon, there's blue sky. There's no clouds. There also is a very light, infrequent breeze. In fact, I wish it was a little more constant. It's very hot outside. And basically today we're going to run over the basics of the mission, of what you can expect. We got some great interviews for you to show. And I think we're going to want to kick off with one of those that we did yesterday. Now, for the children of the 80s out there, and I'm one of them, at giving away age maybe, but Bill Nye, the science guy, he is a long-term member of the Planetary Society. I believe he sits on their board of directors, and we had a chance to interview him yesterday about the LightSail mission. Now, LightSail is one of, I want to say, 9 or 10 payloads that will be incorporated into the Ultrasat deployment package, which will be on the Centaur upper stage of the Atlas V. Okay. Now, this has been a long-time project that the Planetary Society has been working on. They have hosted a crowdsourcing Kickstarter campaign to fund it, and lo and behold, they got the funding they needed. They've flown on a Russian rocket, and like so many Russian rockets, it ended up in the Bering Sea. Well, I shouldn't say like so many. I should say like so many Russian rockets, it either exploded, burned up, or failed massively. So, with that, they, rather than just throwing the towel, they went at it again. They kept flying, and they keep trying until they got it right. They're going to fly on an Atlas V today as part of this mission, and then they're going to fly on a Falcon Heavy as their first flight, which we think is pretty exciting, which it looks like that flight is actually going to be pushed back from the end of 2015 to early 2016. More on this mission. Ultrasat, NASA also has a mission called METIS. It's going to have a whole bunch of different little payloads of different materials that are going to fly to orbit and be subjected to the micro and gravity environment to see how they fare. Now, this is very important in terms of getting an understanding of what materials are best suited for spacecraft use. So, with all that, I think I want to toss it to Mr. Nye, who's going to give you a bit of the history of the LightSail experiment that's going to be launching today in about 23 minutes. Or my math gone? 17, 18, 19, 22 minutes. My math is off. So with that, take it away, Bill Nye, the science guy.
Once it's on orbit, you have to wait a couple weeks while the other CubeSats drift apart. That apparently is the cheapest and most effective way to ensure they don't run into each other.
Okay, we're having a slight technical issue.
And then we will decide whether or not it's in the good orientation to send the signal to deploy. Top secret show stuff,
folks. We're going to be having that Bill Nye video just in a second. He's not live.
Took Carl Sagan's class in 1977.
I like talking to you. You're a nice guy.
He died 20 years later. I joined the board of directors. And people in 1997 were talking about
Hey, Pallone, you got another one of those umbrellas?
Solar sail. In 2005, we did fly a solar sail, Cosmos 1, on a Russian submarine rocket. And that mission is in the Barents Sea, which is a region of the Arctic Ocean. That is to say, it crashed. Ha, 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 ha. So now, 10 years after that, we got it back together, and now we're flying on this standard on a real Atlas V, not a Cold War leftover rocket. And I'm very excited about this. So this is 39 years in the making.
Can you talk a bit more about what it's like to fly?
Once it's...
All right, folks, we're back. We are still moving forward with the launch of the United States Air Force AFSPC 5 mission. Everything, we are not hearing that any technical missions are missions. Listen to me, folks. The heat is getting to me, and people are pinging me. Jason, you are hideous. Please put a bag over your head. Now, what is it saying? Look, one of our readers is saying, I'm trying to make sure. Oh, I'm hot. Oh, my mic is hot. Well, that's not as cool. Well, AFSPC 5, we were kind of thinking that initially they changed it from OTV 1, 2, 3, and this would have been OTV 4 to AFSPC 5 because the little mini shuttle had already flown several missions, and that it had, now it was operational. So it's AFSPC 5, which is AFSPC 4, it's a Delta 4 launch. I thought, okay, well, that makes sense, and it turns out that's not the case at all. The United States Air Force actually asked the United Launch Alliance to basically market this, if you will, as AFSPC 5, and not a lot of details have been given out as to why that was decided, just other than the fact that the Air Force had requested it. Now, for those long-term space geeks out there, the little mini shuttle that's going to fly today, the X-37B orbital test vehicle, whatever you want to call it, is actually kind of cool and kind of tiny because, technically speaking, if the NASA's fleet of orbiters were still flying, the X-37B could actually fit in the space shuttle's payload bay. It has a wingspan of about 14 feet, I think, total in length. It is some 29 feet long, so it's not that big of a craft. Also, with its wheels deployed, I believe it only stands at around 9 feet in height. So it's not a very large spacecraft, and the Air Force has not been kind of hush-hush about what its payloads have been on prior missions. And it's just one of the really kind of more unique, cool things that fly out here. We get a lot of WGS satellites, a lot of GPS satellites that launch. And, here we have this neat little super secret, it's probably delivering Stargates up so people can go to the Pegasus Galaxy and go visit Atlantis. If any of you don't get that reference, you got to go see Stargate Atlantis. I'm sorry, I can't go there. The payloads for this mission are, as I mentioned, there's a NASA payload, which is METIS. There is the LightSail experiment, which, according to Bill Nye, essentially is just if it deploys the way it's supposed to, they're going to be ecstatic because they haven't had a lot of luck, in the past with the getting the LightSail to fly. NASA apparently launched the LightSail D mission, which was somewhat successful. So there is that. And they're continuing to move forward with this design. And it was just, you could hear it in what he was telling us yesterday that we're going to fly this, then we're going to fly LightSail B, and then it was something they're definitely working on. He also made sure to mention that it's don't expect it to just go and it'll be like Count Dooku and they're flying through hyperspace. That's not what's going to happen, folks. If it's going to take a long, long time to basically get where it's going. The photons and the radiation in the space environment have to push it for long periods of time to get it up to a certain speed. And, the main benefit to this payload is that it will be saving the most important thing of all, mass and weight. It's very light. It's very easy to basically, Mr. Nye referred to its deployment as sproinging. Sproinging. It's what it's his word, not mine. Not my fault there. I didn't call that one. So it will sproing open, in the words of Bill Nye the Science Guy, and it will then, if they get that from this mission, then they'll have the confidence to move on to the maiden flight of the SpaceX Falcon Heavy, which apparently has been pushed back to early 2016. It was scheduled for a late 2015 deployment, but apparently that's not going to take place. So I'm gonna check in with folks up in our office to see how. We are currently in a 4-minute hold, and I think now we're at the 4-minute hold. And again, guys, you'll have to bear with me. I am staring at a monitor, and it is very hot outside now. Besides being hot, a few little dots, if you want to call them that, of clouds have begun to appear, but the weather concerns, unless the only weather concern I can say that might happen is high upper level winds. But at present, and you know, folks, we work with some of the nicest people in the business. One of them is none other than Channel 13's Greg Pallone, who, now that he hears me say nice things, he goes and leaves. I guess he doesn't want to come on air with us, but he has brought me an umbrella. And guys, we are out in, look at this. See, now I know this has to look totally unprofessional, and being a little guy, I might get carried off at any minute, but trust me, right now, Greg Pallone is my best friend because the sun is out, and I don't think anything can sum up the weather conditions we're experiencing at Cape Canaveral right now than this umbrella, because it's not raining. It is just so bright. The sky is so clear. And he's moving it for me. I should move it forward, you're thinking? Like that? Too far. He says it's too far. It's got to be like this.
I'm sorry, it's not a functional umbrella.
No, hey, do not
shade.
Heck yeah. I mean, right now, you're on my Christmas card list as of this moment.
Okay.
This is.
Make sure you include some chocolates there, brother.
You want chocolates? What? Belgian, or you just want the Whitman sampler package? Doesn't matter?
Milky
Okay.
Way.
Milky Way? You're a Milky Way kind of guy?
It is space.
All right. The hell. Oh, hear that? Milky Way. It is. You got
Come on now, get with it. You know
Woo! Bad pun, but
Tell
it's good.
everybody hello for me.
Hey, Greg Pallone at Channel 13. He's one of the good local folks here at News Weather Now 13. Says hello to all you folks. Greg Pallone is one of the nicest guys in the business. We've worked with him in the past, and he showed off a lot of our images. I'm going to check in with our folks up in Canada. Hey, how's that interview coming in? We have the ability to show that to the folks at home yet? Got about a couple more minutes on that, so let's keep the good times rolling. I got a little pattern of things I want to make sure that we go through here. And all right, you know what? This week has been an interesting week in terms of spaceflight, because right at the end of shuttle, and when I say shuttle, I mean NASA shuttle, the folks in Russia said, we are now entering the Soyuz epoch. And then, of course, they had the Crimea situation last year, and it was, let them get to the space station, meaning NASA, via trampolines. Well, I think Russia might have want to invest in some of those trampolines, because, yet again, besides progress spiraling out of control and burning up in the atmosphere, last week, or a few days ago, was not a very good one for Roscosmos and the Russian space effort. First, one of the MEXSAT-1, which, a lot of delays for that mission already, finally got off the ground on a proton rocket, and shock, surprise, awe, it was lost. Did a face plant somewhere in the ocean, probably. And on that same day, folks, you can't write this stuff. You cannot make it up. The same day, Russian Progress spacecraft on the International Space Station was supposed to do a scheduled burn to help raise the International Space Station or adjust its trajectory, and it failed to fire. I mean, right now, folks, I think that is the big story for Russia's space program. Failed to fire. It's been not a good time period for the Russians. Meanwhile, SpaceX and other commercial companies are starting to make rapid progress. And Charles Bolden even said, I don't want to have to write Roscosmos or Russia a check past 2017. And from all of us at Spaceflight Insider, you got to say, hey, that sounds like a good idea at this point, because reliability issues are starting to become pretty obvious, and it's something that they might want to consider. Some other interesting events this week were NASA's Deputy Administrator, Dava Newman, or Dava Newman. I don't know how to pronounce her first name exactly, but she took over as NASA's Deputy Administrator after the departure of Lori Garver. So she's now in the House, and she's getting stuff done. Trying to think, getting caught up on current events. What else has been going on in space? Long story short, folks, this has been an interesting week for the Russian space program, for NASA in general. And I am looking through to see how we're doing so far in terms of launch. Not hearing that any issues are being worked at this time. And again, weather is looking good, looking very good. So with that, I'm going to try again. Hang on. I'm hanging. We're almost there. I shouldn't repeat that. Jason is a... sorry. Anyway, folks, the weather is not a concern at all for this mission because it is about as bright and sunny and clear as it can be. United Launch Alliance did kind of throw us a bit of a curveball in that they said, we're going to change the launch window from 10:45 and make it 4 hours to 2, I believe, and I could be mistaken here, 90-minute windows each. Correct. The first one will open at 11:05, which if the weather is the only concern they have, it should open at the very beginning of the launch window. And of course, our good friends with the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria decided to make all of our lives a little more interesting with their 5th century concepts and beliefs by threatening to attack military bases, which caused the United States military to elevate to threat condition Bravo, which means that the normal procedures of when we would come out and handle our day-to-day operations with these with the launches in terms of the Air Force were not happening. We were limited amount of people we could set remotes, and we had to actually go through NASA to get our credentials and to come out here. All in all, though, the Air Force, NASA, all the good folks, they really did their level best to help us out. And so, back on the X-37B and AFSPC 5. Here's the thing, guys. Bill Nye is here, bow tie and all. Got to see him yesterday. I was totally geeking out. Got to interview him one-on-one. And Bill is going to tell you a little bit now about the LightSail experiment, which is about ready to launch here in just 9 minutes. Take it away, Bill.
Once it's on orbit, you have to wait a couple weeks while the other CubeSats drift apart. That apparently is the cheapest and most effective way to ensure they don't run into each other. And then we will decide whether or not it's in the good orientation to send a signal to deploy. It's going to be, you guys, I took Carl Sagan's class in 1977. He died 20 years later. I joined the board of directors. And people in 1997 were talking about flying a solar sail. In 2005, we did fly a solar sail, Cosmos 1, on a Russian submarine rocket, and that mission is in the Barents Sea, which is a region of the Arctic Ocean. That is to say, it crashed. Ha, 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 ha. So now, 10 years after that, we got it back together, and now we're flying on this standard on a real Atlas V, not a Cold War leftover rocket. And I'm very excited about this. So this is 39 years in the making.
Can you talk a bit more about what it's like to fly? Hey, Spaceflight Insider fans, isn't Bill Nye a cool guy? I mean, he was posing with Carlton Bailey's Fodzilla yesterday, and for those of you who don't know about Fodzilla, we're probably going to do a piece on him for too long, and at worst, we'll maybe even do a complete transcription of Bill's interview. But United Launch Alliance was also great yesterday. They sat down with us for a little while, and they actually talked about the lineage of this rocket. Now, the Atlas booster, it comes in many different flavors. It comes in the 401, which is a smaller fairing, and it makes a bit of sense when you see that. It comes in the various 551s, 451s, and what we're mentioning there is the first number, 45, is the size of the fairing. The second is the number of solid rocket boosters. These are Aerojet Rocketdyne AJ-60As that are help to, if payloads, especially heavy, get it aloft. And then the last one is how many engines are in the upper stage. So it's always, at least as far as I know, it's always been a 1 in terms of the Centaur. But the 501 is kind of a weird bird because it has this huge upper stage, fairing, the 5-meter fairing, that's required to shield the X-37B, and then no solids. So it's this weird kind of looking beast compared to what we're used to. And we spoke with Joe Fust with United Launch Alliance yesterday about the history of this rocket and a bit about this mission. And, he was just, he had a lot to say about its history. We're going to show you a video here in a second, but, they basically went over the specifications for this particular rocket, which, again, is kind of unusual. And it is usually it's not something you would see every day. So with that, I'm going to shut up. And Joe, take it away. Tell us a little bit about the Atlas V 501.
Okay, so the launch tomorrow is an Atlas 501. It is a 5-meter payload fairing with no solids on it. They can get up to 5, but there's none on this. We have our primary payload inside. Inside the payload fairing, we have a secondary payload on the backside of the second stage, the Centaur, and that is the Ultrasat with a bunch of CubeSats in it. And the reason why we're talking here today. When we go up tomorrow, the booster will drop off, the Centaur, the second stage will burn and get us into our proper orbit. Well, this payload fairing will separate. We'll drop off our payload, our primary payload, and eventually we'll drop off the CubeSats. Those will go shooting out of their Peapod carriers and go off and do all their experiments. Do this LightSail experiment that we talked about here today. Experiments from all the universities that contributed to this. Okay, so the launch tomorrow is an Atlas 501. It is a 5-meter payload fairing with no solids on it. They can get up to 5, but there's none on this.
All right, gang. Well, we are at 5 minutes prior to the launch of an United Launch Alliance Atlas V 501 rocket with the AFSPC 5 mission, which contains the X-37B rocket. Again, we are hearing that no technical issues are being worked at this time, and the weather, I don't know that it could get much better. I wouldn't mind if it got a little cooler, to be quite honest. But thanks to our folks over at Channel 13, I got an umbrella, so I'm going places. And thanks to folks at YLA, I got my new Vulcan hat. So apparently, we are going to see... We are currently still at the 4-minute hold, so we should come out of that in the next minute. Everything does appear to be going good with the launch today. We are not working any technical issues. The security issues we have encountered were minor, and the folks at United Launch Alliance, the United States Air Force, and NASA could not have been more gracious, more helpful, and more supportive. And as we get ready to watch this launch, I wanted to reach out to Jessica Rye, Lynn Chisani with United Launch Alliance, and Joe Fust, thanking him very much for that interview he gave us yesterday, and Chris Calkins, Sean Wallach. We hope to have we probably should throw to that soon because the launch is going to be in place. Are we ready to play that one, Bill? Okay, well, we're going to throw that to you real quick, and then we're going to bounce back, and then you're going to see the launch. So it may be a hard break away from me because we are getting close to the window here for the launch. But everything, the folks out here have been great. The 45th, everybody has been spectacular out here. United Launch Alliance has been very helpful, and it's been, despite the security concerns and the fact that we are currently in terminal count, which probably means we got about 4 minutes prior to launch. And Bill, how do we stand with that interview? It's coming. Okay. Well, I tell you what, no worries. Everything does appear to be going good at this time. I don't think that they're going to need that second 90-minute window. That was kind of surprising, to be honest, because normally with Atlas launches, at least, they give you a window. The guys come out here. They push a button to the opening of the window. I kid you not, during OTV 2, I believe it was, there was cloud covers and all the quote-unquote established folks out here. Oh, well, it's not going to last. Not going to last. Look at that weather. So, anyway, I'm going to start grousing. Sean Wallach had some stuff to say about the joint effort, and we were mentioning the United Launch Alliance, United States Air Force, and he, well, why don't I let him tell you? Sean, take it away.
Excited about today's mission being launched from Cape Canaveral Air Force Station. This one's a special one, just because there's so many joint partners involved with this. It really folds right into the 45th theme this year, which is the Year of Connection. So for this specific mission, there were many connections being made. We really, really want to see the utmost success. And thank everyone for tuning in and listening with us today. Thanks so much. We're really excited.
$159.
Vehicle internal. Launch sequence for start.
150.
Securing Centaur LH2.
Securing Centaur LO2.
140.
FCS launch enable.
This is Atlas Mission Control at T-minus 1 minute, 31 seconds and counting. The launch vehicle, payload, ground systems, and eastern range are go for launch. This is Atlas Mission Control, now at T-minus 1 minute and counting.
Report range status. This is the Rock. Range is green.
Stable at step 3.
This is Atlas Mission Control at T-minus 30 seconds and counting.
ECS reduced for launch.
Roger.
25.
Status check. Go Atlas. Go Centaur. Go AFSPC 5.
20. 15.
This is Atlas Mission Control at T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. We have RD-180 ignition and liftoff. Liftoff of the United Launch Alliance AFSPC-5 payload with the Atlas V launch vehicle for the United States Air Force.
Vehicle disturbances are as expected.
You're now hearing the voice of Rob Gannon providing launch vehicle ascent data. Let's listen in for mission progress.
Everything is looking good. Passing 30 seconds into flight, everything looks good. Flight control is nice and smooth. Coming up on 50 seconds into the mission, everything looks good. Flight controls right down the middle, so normal disturbances for atmospheric flight. Everything is looking good. Operating parameters look good, vehicle disturbances look good. Open loop steering has been active for a while. Looking just fine. Coming up on Mach 1. And OTV is now supersonic. Passing through max Q. Vehicle disturbances continue to be as expected. We have throttled down to 95% of rated thrust right on time. Body rates are smoothing out. Engine operating parameters continue to look good. Continue to operate at 95% rated thrust. 20 seconds to enabling steering. Vehicle's flying normally. Engine's operating good. And we're proceeding right down the center of the range track, right as expected. Coming up on steering enabled. And we've enabled steering. Vehicle's maneuvering. We are now 25 miles in altitude, 15 miles downrange, traveling at 3,000 miles per hour. Parameters continue to look good. We're now throttling the engine to maintain a constant 2.5 Gs for payload fairing jettison, and we fired the power valve, activating the reaction control system on the second stage. Everything's looking good. Continuing to maintain 2.5 Gs in preparation for fairing jettison. Engine continues to throttle as expected to maintain 2.5 Gs. Parameters looking good. Coming up on payload fairing jettison. Everything looking good. Getting ready for fairing. We're at fairing set. And CFR deck has jettisoned as well. Engine is throttling back up to 80% rated thrust, right as expected. Vehicle's operating normally. We've started boost phase chill down. We're now entering our constant 4.6 G acceleration phase in preparation for shutdown. Everything looking good. Coming up on shutdown. Boost phase chill has terminated as expected. We have cutoff. Booster engine cutoff coming up on staging. And we have stage separation. Everything looking good. We have pre-start on LOX and fuel. Ignition, full thrust. The RL-10 is up and running normally. Good start signature. Operating parameters for the RL-10 look good. Vehicle continues to fly right down the center of the range track.
This is Atlas Mission Control at T+, 5 minutes and 1 second into the flight. We've just heard Rob Gannon report the successful execution of events comprising the early portion of today's mission, and all systems continue to operate nominally. With the mission underway, let's take a look at video highlighting the capability of the X-37B orbital test vehicle. We have ignition.